You out of earth.
Na 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 na. Come on, Max Romeo. Revolution.
I'm gonna put on an iron shirt and chase Satan out of earth. I'm gonna put on an iron shirt and chase the devil out of earth.
I'm gonna send him out of space to find another race. I'm gonna send him out of space to find another race. Hey.
Satan is a evilous man, but him can't choose it, and I man. When I check him, I lost him hand, and if him flip, I go with him on. I'm gonna put on an iron shirt and chase Satan out of earth. I'm gonna put on an iron shirt and chase the devil out of earth. I'm gonna send him to outer space to find another race. I'm gonna send him to outer space to find another race. Oh, no, 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 no.
Him up to drop him fork and run. Him can't stand up to judge your son. Him up to left ya with him guns. Him up to leave earth with him bombs.
I'm gonna put on an iron shirt and chase Satan out of earth.
I'm gonna put on my iron shirt and chase the devil out of earth.
I'm gonna send him to outer space to find another race.
I'm gonna send him out of space.
Good afternoon, my people. Good afternoon, my people. Brother Abz on the top of the hour, 2 o'clock. 2 minutes past 2. We're getting into this one day. This is going to be about UFOs, aliens, and black people. Is there a connection? You want to know? Just so I've been look into it. It's something that's been on to the top of my mind for a while. So just give me a few minutes to get my stuff sorted out. We'll be on it like a carbonic. Take care, my people. Looking forward to speaking to you all. Love you all.
As if you left ya with your bones.
Oh yeah.
Leave. As if you left ya with your bones.
Oh yeah.
Leave.
Yes, greetings to you, each and everybody that's listening, everybody that's got time to take in these 2 hours there. I'm thankful, I'm very appreciative. I hope you've had a prosperous week, healthy week. Good luck in your week. Yeah, today we're gonna go into something a little bit different. UFOs, aliens, and in black people. Is there a connection? That's the question. Before I get into that, just couple of little things on my brain. You know, we're going, today's supposed to be the starting of Carnival weekend. Just to remind people that originally that Carnival was meant to be a festivity that celebrated freedom from so-called slave masters. It was like a rebellion that was organized. It was organized through dance to catch the so-called slave masters in the Caribbean off guards, and it was a big celebration when that was done and there was freedom. It's very ironic today that we're jumping up and down in something that's meant to commemorate freedom, and we're still in bondage, and we're still purchasing the bondage, we're still buying into it, and we're still cajoling and enjoying our bondage. So I just threw this one out there just to kind of not throw a spanner in the works, but just to remind people that, you know, when we're going out and doing what we're doing, we've got to be more mindful of what's going on around us. You know, is this representing our interests? Is this helping us? Or is this another distraction? But anyway, into it. This one's about UFOs, aliens. Now, this particular subject is something I'm a bit of a nerd on, right? So I could freestyle a lot of it, but because I want to stay on track and not kind of lose the gist of it, I'm going to stay within the script that I've written. I hope you guys enjoy this. It's just basic stuff, but I just want to tie it into the relationship with us, because everything I do is from that perspective. When we're looking into stuff, is to look into stuff to understand ourselves and hopefully understand our environment even better, and to understand our place within the environment. Yeah. So UFOs and aliens have been on social media now. I'm sure that's on nearly every page. On every piece of content, there's going to be some inference to UFOs or aliens or whatever. This has been going on for years. I mean, they're building and they're ramping it up now. It's getting more like in kids' TV programs, in children's TV programs, cartoons and that. This is like everywhere. So I thought I'd just look into this, yeah? So logically, it's in books, comics, I said this already, in cinema. So logically, it would be fair to assume that as we find out about new species being discovered regular, because there's all these species we're finding in Antarctica, different places around the world. Every day a scientist is coming up with something new. So on that, based on that assumption, you know, it's quite easy to have different species of any type of creature, humanoid, whatever. So that's just to like sort that one out about, is there any life? Of course there's life. We've got life all around us. So the life can take on any form. So that answers that question in my mind. Yeah, there is life. There's different types of life. It's life probably that we would never imagine, but there's life. So as we get into this, we got also America, which is rife, because the term UFO originally was a military term, was unidentified flying object. Nowadays they say UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon. They've changed it to that. It's just rebranding the same thing. But it was a military term for any craft of any country or any place on earth that they could not identify. Let's get that one straight. But now it's become synonymous with craft, obviously, that we can't identify from other dimensions or galaxies or wherever they come from. Okay, so we've got like stories of Roswell, place called Roswell. You're gonna have to do your research on that, and where apparently there was a crash. They found a UFO body. I've seen like videos of it. It looks as fake as anything, but they're saying that they found a body, la la la. There's a lot of mystery in that. Area 51 apparently is where when they get these crafts that are crashed, they back engineer it, and they get to find out how it works, and do basically like an autopsy on the craft that they found. A mechanical version of an autopsy. So it's called reverse engineering or back engineering. So these things, a lot of these things have been kept hidden. There's stories about Hitler and the Foo Fighters in the 40s where they talked about he was sending up these crafts. They reckon he was making them as well, and he was getting help from some extraterrestrials from a constellation I think called Aldebaran or something like this. It's all out there anyway. So I'm just going to whisk through it as quickly as possible because it's quite a lot of stuff I want to cram in. And it's just to give you like a layman's view on this, what they've been kind of putting out on the media for everybody, and also the little slant I'm going to throw on top of it, which is gonna have something to do with us because it is directly related to us. This is all, this is because you're dealing with intergalactical now. They're talking about beyond this realm, which is things that I think we're more versed in. But anyway, I'll get into that. Okay, now there's even stories like that there's been like people claiming to have been abducted. Yeah, so there's people saying that they've been operated on. There's supposedly proof out there where people have had stuff extracted from them, chips, certain technologies they reckon that they can't identify, or it's not from this planet. There's even gone as far as to say that there's had women that's been inseminated and has had children, which I've not seen on any YouTube clip or any form of BitChute or anything like this, but I've heard. I've read of stories like this, but there's most of these stories, especially these UFO things, especially when they talk about humanoids, you get very, 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 very small amount of proof, and the proof you do get is usually kind of shady videos or like out of focus and stuff like that. And the ones that are supposedly like in focus, I still question them, because there's one that they had of this guy that they supposedly caught and interviewed, and his head was as big as a melon, and the neck was like a spindle. And I was just saying to myself, okay, cool, what planet do you come from? You understand me? Because my God, on this planet, if I push you over, you're not getting up. That head too big. You understand me? So it doesn't, the physiology doesn't make no sense. Oh yeah, last week I was saying physicality instead of physiology. Excuse me, I did a brush up on that one. Physiology. Yeah, so the physiology of these guys, it doesn't make sense. You understand me? There's a few things that doesn't really make sense. But as I said, I'm just gonna not bias it up, but be like non-partial. But I'm gonna tell you still my opinion. But basically, this is what's out there. You can get this. All of these things are out on YouTube, BitChute, and many different streams. Okay, so we've gone on to women being inseminated. The West has stories all throughout about cattle mutilations, humans in implantations with tech, as I said already, and abductees. It's very strange, right? All of these abductees are white, nearly all of them, right? There's one case I've read of Barney and Betty Hill, and the guy was kind of mixed race, yeah, and that was it. That's all I've ever seen, and I've been on this long studying. So it's like the majority of them's white, and that's something I've always wanted to know why. Yeah, I mean, so I'm looking into that as well. So yeah, we're gonna look into something a bit more. I mean, African history is also like tied into this very strong. It's strong because it's got a historical connotation to extraterrestrial phenomena, right? Because we've got people like in South Africa. There's a guy called Credo Mutwa. He's a what they call a sangoma, which is basically a shaman, African shaman, or what we'd like to call witch doctor. And he done a lot of interviews, which you could find all over. And I'd advise people just check him out, Credo Mutwa, R.I.P. He's quite an intelligent guy. He's a lot of his stuff makes sense. A lot of his stuff, you can verify some of his stuff. I can't verify the majority of what he said, but I can verify some. I've got some verifications on some of his stories. He's a very interesting character. So he's basically breaks down about the extraterrestrial connection between Africans of his elders' time and the South Africa of the people that was living there, South Africans that was living there. I think he's part of the Zulu tribe. Yeah. So we're gonna look into that. Now, Credo Mutwa's account he got, as I said, from shamans and elders. And there's also another set of Bantu tribesmen outside now. You can get this on YouTube. I can't remember the guy's name. I'm gonna try and find all of these names. I keep saying it and I don't bring them all up. But there's a Bantu tribesman out now, very educated, and he's breaking down the extraterrestrial origins and how his people, the Amazulu, because their name means children of the stars, how they got that name and what proof there is to prove this. So this is very interesting, because he's got some very interesting philosophies and I won't call it theories, you know what I mean, because to him it will be facts. I'll just say stuff that we need to learn, that we need to listen to and learn from, and see if we can prove or disprove. So we've got Africa, we've got Sumeria, which is one of the main ones they like to talk about. They like to talk about Sumeria for a whole host of things, usually to do with civilization. That's the one they like to attach to Sumeria, like the first civilization. And they like to talk about the Sumerian creation origins. That's been something that's been pumped a lot on the internet. We've got cases where they're saying basically, if you look at the carvings in Sumeria, that according to the writings, that these gods came down and educated the Sumerians and brought them culture and brought them all kinds of stuff. These guys was called Anunnaki. Their name is very interesting. Yeah, I mean, because the Anunnaki, that name is it's got South African connotations. It's I think it's a Bantu dialect or root Bantu dialect. So, this Credo Mutu goes into that as well. But that particular video is something I can't remember the name of the video. It's a video where he talks about Michael Tellinger, and in that particular video he breaks down about the connection of the language and who the Anunnaki were. So it's very important stuff, because this is all connected to us, and it's been like taken and rewritten and given out. So when you hear the story, you might feel distance from it because you hear the word Sumeria and stuff like this. And the word Anunnaki, I don't know, is that something to do with them who came down from heaven or something like this. But, I think my guy breaks down the exact meaning and some of the root words that's in there. He says, I think, key, one of them, he breaks it all down. But you got to go and look into that for yourself. But I'm just going to pass this message there, and I ain't bluffing you. I ain't going to waste your time. This out there, so you can go and do that research. So basically we're going to get onto Sumerian culture, as we said. Then there's also we talked about Sumerian culture and the Anunnaki. There's also stories in Africa from some very, very mysterious people called the Dogon tribe. Yeah, now these Dogonites, according to Western guys that went down there and done their research, they was told that these extraterrestrials came down. They said it was related to them by the Dogonites, and it told them that they was educated and given civilization by these aquatic beings called Nomo. Now this is interesting because I've listened to a lot of Dogon guys talking, like Dogon priests, and I've never really heard them say this. I've never really heard them say this, but I've looked at the rituals that they show you that they're doing for the sake of the Nomo, and they drew you these pictures of these guys they said that came and brought civilization, and I listen to it, but I take it for a pinch of salt, because who's to say the Dogon tribe wasn't just giving them a story to run with? How do we know? How do we know they ain't told them the reality of what it really is? They might have kept that to themselves, because they're high priests, and a lot of their knowledge is based on secrecy and keeping that knowledge inside of a certain way. So I don't think some guys coming over all of a sudden will get access to all of this knowledge just like that, because there's usually a price to pay, and it's not financial. It's usually spiritual. It's usually to do with some form of, like, you've got to do something. You've got to do either some fasting or something's got to be done. So I don't really believe that narrative, but that's what's out there. That's what they're preaching. That's what they're promoting. That's what a lot of so-called scholars have run with that, and they've given this to the people without, any what I would call empirical evidence, because stuff like this you need to really, really prove it. And the only way you can prove it is if you speak to a high priest that's going to confirm that, and that's willing to confirm that. So, I'm hoping one day I'll be so lucky as to speak to a Dogon priest, because there's so much questions I want to ask. But I heard an interview once where one was explaining that they have encountered this kind of energy, these Nomos energy, but not in the context of what people are saying, that they came down and it wasn't like that. I think they was spiritually interacting with them and using them more as in a way of, like, I wouldn't say like I would say, I might as well use the word mastery over them. They wasn't really under no subjugation. They was actually using that energy for their knowledge, You know, so that's the way. That's what I got from this guy's conversation, and I should really record all these things and say where, what, and when. It was a conversation for Dogonite high priest in America of European American woman, who was quite patient with him and asked him a lot of questions. And I listened to it. It was about two hours plus, very interesting. So he was just breaking down about the Dogon philosophy. So we got the Dogonites now that tell you about their connection. I told you about the Amazulu, which means children of the stars. Told you about Creator Mutwa. That's enough already to show you that we've got a strong connection with this extraterrestrial phenomena that these guys are promoting. Now, Creator Mutwa, right? I am going to claim a lot of him because he's somebody that you can still verify. He's written a lot of books. You know, he did an interview with David Icke, Mr. Conspiracy Theorist, they say. But, you know, a lot of the stuff he's saying, there's a lot of truth in it. He done I think a 6-hour interview with him, something like that, 6 or 8 hour interview. You can get all of these things on YouTube, or you can even buy, if you want to buy the DVDs or whatever, you can get that. So basically, he says in one of his videos that the one with David Icke, I don't know if it's the second one or the third one, where he discusses about the reptilians that he saw on the island, that they used to see on this island. They used to see a set of these so-called reptiles on an island far away, like hopping on one foot or something like this. I don't want to like construe his story, but long story short, he said one of them that he said that there's like they're in rank. He reckons these reptilians are they got like a military rank, and in the military ranking, one of them, the highest ranking one, looks like exactly. He said literally exact like what's this one on Star Wars? Darth Maul, the red-faced one, yeah, with the horns and everything on his head, yeah, the ugliest-looking one there, yeah. He said it looks like one of them, and he reckons like literally exact. So you know this is interesting, and they called them what, Chitawuli. That was the name of these so-called reptilian beings, you know, which he goes into. I haven't got enough time to fully go into all of that, so I'm just like going to give you pointers if you want to know a bit more. What you just do is just do a little bit of research, your due diligence, things that you need to do so that you can understand it for yourself. I mean, this is just background information. It's not nothing that's life-changing, but it's just good to know, because when people tell you about extraterrestrials and this, that, and the third, a lot of people are like thrown off balance because they think it's some big, deep thing. You know, it's not. You know, it's just like a lot of nerds like me, we go into it, because I've been studying this from about 13 years old. So I've studied it a lot. So I've had a vested interest in it, because I find it very fascinating that there would be other beings moving around in different types of things. But the craft situation, you know, is like, that's another thing. Anyway, we're going to get into a little bit more. Right, there's other guys, right? There's other scholars, writers. There's an ordinary guy, just an ordinary like me and you. His name's Eric von Däniken, but he claims that he actually met some extraterrestrials. He has some tons of books I read. That's what I started off on, was on Däniken, because he had all these pictures of all the so-called people that he took pictures of, and they looked like the most beautiful white chick you could imagine, and these white guys walking around looking like they came off a what do we call it, a holiday, and dressed in these tight stuff. I saw, you know, you can get these books. So Eric von Däniken, he breaks down all of these guys that he's met, the places that they live. I think Pleiades was the place they say they hail from, and he goes into his relations. He had a relationship where they used to come and visit him, and he used to meet them, and no doubt they probably had some Starbucks. I don't know if there was Starbucks at that time, but they had some what they call refreshments. No doubt, you know. Yeah, I'm not going to take it too serious, because a lot of these things, you know, it's always like a one guy saying a one story, and he's not got about 10 people to tell you like all 10 of them saw the same people and we can verify this, that, and the third. Because from what I've got of him, it's always been a couple of people and this, that, and the third. It's not I haven't seen enough evidence to make me believe these guys, you know. And and at the time he was writing these books, we was at the time of was it probably the 60s? You know what I mean? I'm very sure it was around that time he was writing these books, and these books, probably no, 60s, 70s, probably 60s, 70s was the free time of drugs and that. So you don't know if these guys are under the influence, you know, I just don't know. Yeah, he's written a ton of books. So if you want to study about that, there's Eric von Däniken and his lovely adventures. Then we have in the 60s there was this one made me laugh because I actually saw this picture, right? Let me go into it first. Right, in the 60s there was rumors of USA's involvement, because I was getting all excited when I got this news out. And I said, yeah, I'm getting so excited to see what these extraterrestrial guys look like. In the 60s, there was the rumors of the USA's involvement with beings from Venus, right? And one of them, right, would you believe me if I tell you, his name was Valiant 4. Well, God, they couldn't make this up. Valiant 4, right? And he was from Venus, yeah? And when you see a picture of Valiant 4, he's in a smart suit, little tie, little white boy's quiff on the side, looking like, like he's just come off a fashion runway, and he's come from Venus. And I was like, wow, you know what I mean? Is this how this world's going? Yeah. So I just looked at this one and I say, that doesn't resonate as anything true, but there's a lot of so-called black intellectuals and scholars that some of them actually believe this. So, good luck to them, but I don't believe it a jot. You understand me? But it's entertaining, no doubt, because what I want to he's so intelligent from another galaxy and probably high tech, because they like to sell you that they come from high tech and they're smart and they drive these crafts and they know they got years of technology above us, and all this stuff. And then he's in this country where at that time when he was in America was racial segregation. So I want to know if his alien self, excuse my French, alien self, was it kind of all right to be in a country of segregation and racism and violence and stuff like this? Didn't his alien technology alert him that these things are not really civilized, and what are you doing talking to guys that are keeping these kind of laws in order? Are you part of the same clan? I hope there's no like extra confederation of people that are outside there that are part of the KKK or something like this. This would be terrible. Yeah, I mean, but anyway, I thought I'd throw that out there because there's a lot of things to me. It's like it don't make no sense, and a lot of my own brothers, I've seen them put that in their books and use that as a reference point for somebody from Venus, which I think is kind of insulting, because for truth, a lot of probably Venezuelans or whatever they call them from being the people from Venus might not look like that, and they might find him quite ugly. You understand me? So we got to look at these things. Yeah, so that was the Valiant 4. I thought I'd throw that. I've always wanted to say that, and I'm glad I've got a platform where I can say it for everyone to hear, because there's a lot of other people that might think that, and it's all right to say what you think. You know what I mean? This is you're in a free world. It's not everything we're fed we have to believe. You can entertain it, yeah. You can keep it in the deep freeze of your mind, yeah, but you don't have to believe it. This is the key, because you need to have strong facts. A lot of these guys, they throw this out like, he was part of the... Okay, you met him? You ain't met nothing. It's a bag of nonsense, a lot of this. And a lot of, to me anyway, this is my opinion. I'm only giving you these facts, but I'm going to throw my opinion on top of it as well. But I'm not doing it to sway anybody. I'm just telling you that, I've got a different viewpoint to the general consensus that's out there. Okay, now the conscious community has a plethora of people claiming that they have connections with extraterrestrial beings, ranging from one of my favorite ones was Mr. Dr. York. He's got the Nuwapian movement. He went as far as to say that he's from the planet Risk. He's got like connections in Risk, which is near Sirius or wherever it was, and he's got something like 9 sons and la. Cool, you understand me? So that's what he believed. Or he probably still believes. I don't know if he believes and if his followers believe that. Again, empirical proof. I like a lot of his teachings. I don't really agree with him on a lot of stuff, but I do like some of his teachings, and I think a lot of his stuff, it's had some relevance to our community, But this one about the Risk, I don't know, because it was in one of his books. I saw the picture of Valiant 4. It was from York's books. I saw it, and I just looked at it and said, it's just I don't understand any of this. But so Dr. York was on this. He was a very, very esoteric minded teacher, and he always used the intergalactical connections, whether it's to do with Sumerians. And he always, what I did like about his photographs, when he shows you pictures of Anu from Sumeria and Enlil, they all look like our family, which is literally how they would, that's how it would be. You know, so he got that aspect of things right. But the rest of his stuff, as I said, there's a lot of stuff which I'm not going into. But yeah, either he, Dr. York, yeah, he was a great one that was connected. He had all these people, a lot of Nuwapians now, you know, that has enjoyed certain information and now have gone further and elaborated a little bit further, and a lot of them have been smart enough to have worked some stuff out for themselves and found some of their own knowledge, which is good, you know, and find out how we are tied into this without having nobody to tell you this. Nation of Islam is also no stranger, you know. As I talk about Dr. York, I'll have to talk about Minister Farrakhan. Minister Farrakhan, I wouldn't say he teaches that, but he's actually, I've heard him say it a few times. I've read in his posts, the one that used to put, gosh, how can I forget his post? But when he had his papers out, the NOI papers. Anyway, he read about him going on a spaceship and meeting Elijah Muhammad and being given a prediction and, you know, stuff like this. I know he believes in this. He's said it a few times, several different interviews. He also claims there's a craft above that's got 144,000 bombs and something like that. Keep an eye out for us and stuff like this. So he believes in this as well. So there's a strong tie with us. This is something that's not strange to our community. Yeah, we've also got a very great metaphysicist and scientist. He's dead now, Dr. Delbert Blair, R.I.P. from America. Very he's one of the guys that I'm impressed with. I don't agree with everything he says, but his knowledge is so it's out there kind of stuff, but a lot of it he gives you stuff like that we can relate to from here. So it's not hard to get out there with him because he's showing you stuff that makes sense. You know, a lot of stuff I've listened to of this stuff doesn't make sense to me, but I'm like this with everybody. I think, yeah, he's interesting. He gives you the aspect of extra dimensional entities. He talks about we've got entities living on Earth of different species types all together. So he reckons that there's people here that's got green skin, blue skin, spots on their body, different types of humanoids. He's even gone as far as to talk on one of his tapes, which I hope one of these days, if I get a chance, just to run a little bit, just so you can hear him. He talks about even like the Transformers movies based on reality. He reckons there's a place where there's metal beings that are organic metal and stuff like this. So he's got a lot of stuff, metaphysics stuff, that he explains so much. I mean, he was the first guy to say that we had two suns. I remember that. He actually said it before it was called by the science. So that's one of the reasons why I listened to more of his stuff, because there was empirical evidence that could be backed up by anybody, regardless of any color. But it was, you know, backed up by the European scientists that there was two suns. He said this probably 20 years before, about at least 10, 15 years before. Yeah, 20 might be a bit too much, about 15 years. He was in advance of them. So yeah, Dr. Delbert Blair, he's another one. He says a lot of stuff to do with beings from other galaxies, other dimensions. I think he talks about beings under the earth. He's got a lot of knowledge. I mean, he's somebody worth studying. He's, you know, just find out, you know. He's a very, very intellectual man, and he's very, very, very calm in his presentation. His voice is very soothing, and he's a very, very, very good lecturer, you know. He's very, very entertaining, and he's quite funny as well. I like Delbert Blair still, you know. He reminds me of a bit like he reminds me of the cousin, be like the cousin of C. Freeman L, you know. May he rest in peace and rest in full power. A powerful lecturer, another one. You know, he brought in the metaphysics of Moorish science, which is another one day I hope I get the pleasurable pleasure of going into that. But that's for another time. But, you know, the reason why I talk about Delbert Blair is because a lot of his things that he talks about is like a lot of questions we have about the cosmos and our origination and, you know, how we got here and how things was set into place. He's got a lot of I say, probably be facts to him, but theories on this, you know. So yeah, thought I'd go through that. And I'm going to stop off here for a minute, because today I think the whole of this is going to be about the UFO situation. I want to run through it so that it's as I've gone into it as much as I can, as humanly possible, without making you lose interest. But so far I've covered from the west down to Mesopotamia, which is still, I class it as part of Africa, down to Africa, and in America, and the connections with us as black people, as melanated beings. So it's not something that's alien to us or far from us. It's something that's kind of near to us because it's in our folklore. Told you about Cré de Moutoir. I've told you about Dr. York, Farrakhan. So it's like, yeah, we've got a tie into this, and it's quite cool, because it's like the living the humdrum life we live on earth, thinking all this doom and gloom is enough to make you want to just walk off to the so-called edge of the earth. But what makes me like smile is that there is other beings out there. They're probably facing strife just like us. You know what I mean? Yeah, you don't know, it might be a reptilian just that wants to sit down and chill with us and say, yeah, I understand the situation. My wife gives me a headache as well. You don't know. You understand me? But there's also the other side to it, where they say, I'm going to go into that anyway when I come off the break. So I'm going to play a few tracks off on the break. It's now 20, coming up to 22. I'm going to give it about 5 minutes and then come on, because there's no doubt you've been hearing me bleating on about UFOs. But this subject is one subject I love, because it is one that, like, it captures your imagination, and it lets you know that Father Divine and God is Divine, they didn't waste time. They put things out there, you know what I mean? And we have to go out there and diligently look for these things. Not look for them to make it our life's vocation, but be aware that we are not the only ones on this planet. So as I leave you with this, I'm going to play another track, and it's called Cosmic Reggae.
wanna get what everyone's got. If we could only realize the lots of things that we deny, one day will grow to be a lot. Even if you're out of luck, still you got to give it all you got. Even if only for a buck, I said strive for tomorrow, our day will come. Even when the pressure drop, not even like moving forward, say we not look back, forward ever. Cause even when the pressure drop, of the days is the pressure. They say it's not easy. No. So evident in the city, man.
Yeah, for those who feel it, night crew, listen to the lyrics. I feel like this most of the time. Listen it up.
Of the days is the pressure. They say it's not easy. No. So evident in the city, man, I just can't get used to the hustle and bustle. The sounds wait for me in the night sky. I hear them sing the siren song. And I know how to ask why.
Yes, it ain't for me too. Yes. We're back on it. Now, this UFO thing situation has become like such a public concern that in America they've made a big massive movement. I mean, we've got movements all around the world where people are getting together, say, yeah, we want the government to come clean about this and tell us what they know about it. They call it disclosure. Yeah. So what's happened is there's a chap in America called Dr. Stephen Greer. Somebody else to look up if you're interested in this topic. Is Dr. Stephen Greer. He's got a movement in America where he's getting the so-called government to disclose and tell the public everything and put out the paperwork, pictures and evidence of extraterrestrial visitation crafts and the so-called aliens that they've been in contact with. Now, there's other guys that's all pushing the same narrative. There's people talking about, they've come out the woodwork, say they've been doing stuff. William Cooper, can't remember the other guy that was working with Phil Schneider, that reckons he was working in a place called Dulce in New Mexico, where underground bunker where he was fighting aliens and stuff like this. This is all of these guys have come out, said the story. They reckon that they killed Bill Cooper and Phil Schneider. I don't know how true any of this is. I've read their stuff, and as I said, I take most of this stuff with a pinch of salt. Maybe it may be true, maybe not. But it's all out there. You can get this. So I've gone into Stephen Greer. It is also a well-known fact that there's hidden documents concerning alien crafts, which we know about, just said about this already, which claims to have pictures of them, wreckages of them. I mean, I saw something on YouTube, right? And they took it off, right? I found it very, very it was about a craft that they reckon there was no talking. There was somebody just like in so-called filming inside of a craft, and they were showing you these they didn't show you the faces of these guys. They just showed you their hands when they was like touching the body. It was a woman, the crash craft, the woman pretty. And I don't want to say prettiest woman because I got my missus probably listening. And there ain't no one prettier than her. But she pretty. And she had like locks. She had locks and she had brown. And listen, it looks so real to me. And the thing, she had locks, which I found strange. If somebody was going to make something fake, why would they make it locks? Brown skin, luscious lips, kind of like oriental eyes, and very pretty. And this was actually circulating the internet for the last, because I went on to look for it and I couldn't find it. But say about 5 years ago, you would have found it on the internet. It was circulating all over. And then they reckon it was a hoax by some guy, French guy or something like that. That was a sculpture or model maker or whatever. I don't believe it. I'll tell you straight. You understand me? She had some tubes coming in her nose, coming out her nose and stuff like that. I mean, it was a very, very, if it was a sculpture or whatever, it was very detailed. And there was tubes coming out of her nose. They reckon that in the crash wreckage, there was 2 other bodies that was there. I think one of them was a male, and it was disfigured or something like this. So they took the picture of the one that was in its prime condition, which was her. And and I actually believe that, because it's very possible, and I mean very, very possible. It's not impossible, So I'll just throw that one out there. If anybody's ever seen that, I would like you to hit me up, even if you've got a still of it. Just to prove, the point. And it's like the stuff they take offline of things you can't get, and they stopped it. Like there was another one, a quick one, where they had a beautiful. If you look, it was a Hubble telescope picture that they took. They apparently shot into the dark recesses of the galaxy. But if you saw right at the back on a corner, right hand corner, if the galaxies made up the face together of an African woman. And when I say the face, I'm not talking about like a vague image like what we see in clouds and that. This was full nose, full lips, eyes, and she had a form of headdress on. Now, it could be possible that somebody superimposed that on the picture, the telescope, the Hubble shot. But I don't think so, because when you look at it, if you like zoom it up, I was zoomed mine up, and I was just seeing like stars and that, how it was actually making up the face. So it was made up of that, and it was very, very. It was a humbling experience, because, I'm a macho man and everything I do, man, God, and all of that. But that kind of made me realize, boy, goddess, she's real, and it shouldn't take me stuff like that to know that, but it kind of just put fuel in the fire. And I thought I'd throw that one out there. I don't feel no way, because these are stuff that I've actually showed people. I actually showed some people when I was at uni that time. I showed them that and they couldn't believe it. So, I actually know that this is real stuff. That this is stuff I wasn't alone in seeing. Right, so let's get on to religious books now, because, religion, again, because of the way we've interpreted, or we've been taught to interpret religion on an earthly realm, we never actually ascertain anything extraterrestrial to it, because that's the way we was taught. But now, with the new insights and the way people are looking into stuff, and the way some academics have been viewing stuff, there's a whole different how can I put it? Looking at the Bible, Quran, or any of the holy books, it takes on a whole different dimension. I mean, the Quran was all right with that anyway, because from the beginning, you know, it was written that Allah said in the Quran that He's made worlds and different peoples, you know, on worlds. So that was, I think, a lot of people in Islam actually know this standardly, you know. But religious books, teachings, and texts are supposed to infer, according to some theories, that there were extraterrestrial activities occurring in the past. Example like Moses with the burning bush. I mean, I've heard some guys say that it was an extraterrestrial god, that the Yahweh was some extraterrestrial that was in a ship, and the ship was radioactive, and you know, Moses couldn't come near it because of that. And I've heard other people say different renditions, but you know, that's one of them. I mean, the prophet Ezekiel, we know about. He had what they call the wheel within the wheel experience, where a craft was meant to have been flying, and he was a witness to this, and he actually relayed what he saw. And remembering, like, you know, at that time, it would not be in a way we could relate to, because of the way we express. At that time, they expressed differently. So, you know, he said wheel within a wheel. You know, so yeah, that's interesting stuff. I mean, we've got the Book of Enoch that talks about him being lifted up to heaven. A lot of people, scholars ask, like, if this was true, how did he get to heaven? Was it a craft that took him up? You know, stuff like this. And he was meant to have been taken up by angels. So, you know, we got to ask ourselves, you know, does angels drive crafts and stuff like this? It's apparently a similar, and I don't want my Muslim brethren and sisters to jump in, but a similar experience happened to Prophet Muhammad, according to the Quran, where he was taken up to heaven on a beast of some sort. They call that beast Baruch. Yeah, Burak. Sorry, I'm saying Baruch. Burak. It was a Burak, which was some kind of like a donkey kind of hybrid with some whatever it was. I think it had wings. They said, you know, like this. You know, some say it could be a metaphor for a spacecraft. You know, we don't know. You know, it's stuff like this that you know, it's all down to interpretation. I think a lot of these things. You know, what makes things more valid is when you've obviously got a multitude of people seeing the same thing. You know, so this is important. You know, and that they can verify and confer together to agree what they saw. We're going to India next. India, we have this epic book called the Mahabharata. Yeah, now this is a very long historical narrative that goes into the ancient Indian history, chronicling the wars between the gods. It wasn't just chronicling that, but involved inside the chronicles was was wars between the gods, which is the part I'm just homing in on, because these wars between the gods was like, there was on these crafts called Vimanas, and apparently these Vimanas had nuclear capabilities. So these guys was actually warring with each other, and where, you know, it was just normal to chuck nuclears at each other. I mean, researchers have actually gone on where these stories apparently occurred, and done the land. They've done a radioactive survey on it, a radioactive check on it, and they found it was highly radioactive still. So, you know, that leads credibility or credence to the story still. I mean, this Mahabharata book is like, it's ancient Asian philosophy, yeah. And what a lot of Asian people would probably hate me for this, but I'll just have to say it as it is. You know, at that time, the people would have been more African looking. At that time, and you know, when the scholars read that book, they went out to go and look for these Vimanas and stuff. And would you believe this? They found some. They found some of them. They found some of them encased, I think, in stone or whatever. And apparently, I read from one guy, and I should have kept his details, but you know, as I'm on this show, I'll be more dutiful to keeping details of things that I pick up. But this chap actually done him and a crew went out, and they were supposed to be some what were they? They were like technicians, electrical technicians or something like this. But anyway, they went out there and they done an energy check on it. They found out the apparatus that it was giving off a heat signature. When they checked the heat signature, they found out it was actually one of the Vimanas actually had an engine that was still active. It was still had a power in it. And when he done the power check, it says that the amount of power surging through it can actually power a small town. So I'm like, wow, what kind of craft was that? I think these crafts was only big enough for one person, 1 or 2 people. So yeah, and they were like kind of cone shapeish. I mean, you can look all of this up. You know what I mean? It's everywhere. You know what I mean? Vimana is Vimana. You know, it's a very, you know, I think it's still attached to us as melanated people, because as I said, at the age the Mahabharata was written, and at that particular time, the geology of the planet was, you know, predominantly ruled by melanated African beings. Okay. Now the Bible and the Quran, as I said, tells you about stories like to do with what can be interpreted as possible extraterrestrial activity. Now there's there's stories about angels, because, you know, I touched on the thing about the angels possibly being extraterrestrials. I mean, this is what's out there. This is the kind of theories that's going out there. Now they say fallen angels in particular were rogue extraterrestrials. You know, that you know, the Bible talks about these rogue angels, and the Quran, and talk about that they've been bound up, or I think on this planet even, ready for the day of judgment, for punishment. Now some people say that these angels, these rogue angels, are these abducting aliens and stuff like this. So, you know, it's very interesting, because this can go in so many different directions, and I don't want to just home in on one spot, because, you know, you home in on just one spot, it's like, my God, there's so much other bits. I want to throw as much different pieces in, so you've got, like, it's that one subject, but I've covered as many different angles as I could. Right, so we've said about the aliens, possibly angels possibly aliens, right? Now that's the consensus now, that aliens are good or bad. Yeah. So, you know, a lot of this narrative, especially concerning like so-called cattle mutilations, abductions, and stuff like this, has painted the picture that these guys that are doing it are probably like malevolent beings. And then we've got stories of these ones called the Greys, like the ones with the big head and the big black eyes and stuff like this. And I mean, Credo Mutua goes into the Greys and actually says that these are not how they look. That is an actual suit, an exoskeleton. He says that they look like different creatures. When you unzip them, they actually, you can actually take the suit off, and take even the head's a helmet, and I think even the eyes, he said, is like a helmet thing. So he said that they're actually different creatures inside there, which is very interesting, because he actually knows, he's actually said quite a bit. And yeah, there's supposed to be malevolent beings called the Greys, reptilians, from the Draco, and stuff like this, and they're not meant to be friendly, and they got this conquest of, I don't know if it's the ruler for whatever, they don't want no good for us, and la la la. So I can understand to a degree, but my God, when I think about it, right, if there was a reptilian race, right, think about it, right, if there was, right, a ton of them would be mad without. A lot of us as Africans will get it, because when you think about it, I grew up wearing turtle skin, snake skin, and sisters wearing snake skin stuff, having snake skin bags. My Lord, that's their family you're chopping off. So imagine you got like the big brother coming down looking for you. My God, they'd be reminiscent, would feel it. Yeah, the reason why I'm making joke like this is because this stuff that they give us is like, they paint at this, like a picture's getting painted that, ooh, watch out for these guys, this, that, and the other. And it's like, you know, it's like a lot of people that don't know about this will actually fall into that trap. It's just knowledge that's been put outside, and we have to prove or disprove it, you know. So the one about the reptilian is interesting, you know what I mean, because there could be reptiles from another galaxy that's intelligent, you know what I mean. You don't even know if the dinosaurs, you know, they evolved into, you know, you don't know, you know what I mean, because it's very possible. Yeah, it's all possible that the dinosaurs evolved into some kind of like a humanoid type being and developed intelligence and stuff like this, you know. Whether or not, when I think about it, they would actually make a craft, and, you know, because they're trying to make me believe there's these giant reptiles that are flying around space, sitting on a console, pressing all these buttons and zapping themselves to A, B, and C. And it's like, all right, cool, you know, from Draco and with their plan to dominate Earth. Remember V? Yeah, as I said that. Cool. I'm glad I caught that, because I wouldn't have forgot that V had the program V. where we had the reptilians running Earth, and they was really looking like humans, and in behind scenes that they was eating like little animals and stuff like this. I mean, we don't know, like, but you got to be like common sense about all of these things, because like, all right, if it was a humanoid reptilian, then obviously his hands, his digits and stuff like that must be more humanoid for them to operate and do the stuff we do, because with long reptilian nails, you ain't gonna be able to. You'll be scratching the console instead of being helping. You probably just blow your stuff up before you even fly. You know, if you're a reptile, you know what I mean. That's not really that's not humanoid enough to make the stuff that they claim that they make. You know, because there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of claims to it, and you know, whenever anybody makes a claim or makes a bold pronouncement, we got to look for something to back it up. And I haven't seen any of them. I mean, I got one friend. He's like a spiritualist, and he's somebody that I respect highly. And he said he met one. He saw one in his room when he was sleeping. He said he actually stood over his bed. So you know, I know the brother. You know what I mean? And I know he's not on no mind-altering drugs, as far as I know. And he's always, as I've always met him, been sane-minded. So I've just listened to it. And again, as I said, I can't confirm because I never saw it myself, and I would love to see one. You know what I mean? Yeah, just to see what they come up like. You understand me? Yeah. Yeah, but the only things I won't go next to them because the lizard breath might kill me. You know what I mean? But I don't know, man. There's a lot of stuff out there I would like to see, because it's always possible. You know what I mean? And I might mock it and joke about it, but it's you know, to some people it's real. All right. We've said about the malevolent beings. There's also different types of aliens now. It's not just humanoid types. I've heard there's insectoids. I think Delbert Blair covers that. He said there's mantis type beings that are like, you know, they got the shape of a mantis basically, but humanoidish kind of stuff. There's winged beings, winged humans. Yeah, I mean, so we've got, you know, and amphibious. We've got ones they call archons that's doing its rounds on the internet. Everyone says these archons, you watch out for these archons, and they're out and they're this and they're that, and you know, it's like it's like the Mysterons on Captain Scarlet for those that's old enough to remember. It's like, my God, you have to, you know, watch out. So it's like we've got all of this stuff being given to us and being told to us. I cannot verify these things to tell you guys. I do know that there's good and bad. And the Archon one, I don't play with that word too much because it sounds too much like a Khan from Ghana. So I'm just leaving it right there. But, you know, there's good and bad. That's all people got to realize in all things. You know what I mean? So if there is any extraterrestrial life forms, they'd only come in that shape, whether good or bad, as a species. It's not going to be the entire species is bad. You understand me? Yeah. So this is something you've got to keep in mind. You know what I mean? There's a guy, a scientist, very well respected, very well known. Well, not to you guys, but to people inside the scientific world. And he's also like, he's written a few books. His name is Norman Begren. Yeah, he's a freelance scientist who used to do work for NASA, and he is an astronomer, I think, the ones that study the stars and that. And he's done a lot of surveillance he was doing of the solar system. You got to get his books, you know what I mean, because you know I've done one about Saturn's rings. I can't remember what it's called, but it's about Saturn's rings. But anyway, basically he studied the cosmos, and then he studied our solar system, and he studied the planets. And what he was finding out, that he was actually seeing through his telescope, that he claims that there was a craft he was following, a particular craft. And he said this craft was going and creating rings. That's right. The book's called Ring Makers. There was making rings. This craft, this massive craft. And he said this craft was going to Saturn because there was a day he'd be observing it. He didn't see no rings. He saw a certain amount of rings. He counts them or whatever. And then he'd come back and check, and he said, oh, there's another set of rings come up. Then he'd be looking, zooming up his pictures. Then he'd find his crafts. He said this craft was coming in, and he believes that they was taking energy from different places and putting it on the Saturn's rings. And he reckons it was going up and down past the planets like Uranus. I think Neptune they was going to, and then he took a stills of them by the sun. Now, what's interesting about the ones by the sun He's actually, he blew it up and he was showing you these like a proboscis, what they call a proboscis, a butterfly is that, like a long tube that comes out their snout, and they pull the nectar out the flower with. It's a long tube, and they had a basic, like a mechanical one of them going into the sun. So his theory was that, these guys are charging up their spaceship. That's what he believes. They was going in, they're getting energy, and possibly even taking some of that energy and putting it on the Saturn. That's what was said. But I find him quite interesting because he's interviewed by a woman called Linda Moulton, and when asked about all of these things, he was saying, yeah, he's been studying it, and she goes, oh, so where did it get you? And long story short, he reckons that he saw them at a NASA, because he reckons it the same. I don't know what led him to believe that, but he said that the same people, that the same guys that was there, he said he saw them. He saw them because there was apparently some craft or something landed in NASA, and he was there, la la la. And then she said, oh, you saw them? He goes, yeah. And he goes, I believe these are the guys that are really responsible for going to the different planets. And he goes, they're not from our planet. And she asked him, what did they look like? So he says, basically black. and that was that. And black meaning jet black. Yeah. And she asked him the height, and he said about 7-8 feet would be a conservative height. And I said, wow, this is interesting. And he reckons he saw them, like, he wasn't right next to them, but he was in the same vicinity they was in, and he could see them. So, this is very interesting stuff. And he reckons they were actually like commanders, and they were actually commanding the people in NASA and speaking with authority. So it's very interesting stuff. I mean, as I said, I can't verify, I can't prove, but the narrative of what I'm trying to paint about our connection with it just puts more fuel to the fire. Because it's things that I already knew eventually would get to hear stories like this. You know what I mean? I've heard from Moorish brother that, I don't know if it was Alim Bey, and I don't want to misquote Alim Bey for him to rouse me, because I know I'm out there public, but for him to curse me, to straighten me out. But at the end of the day, like, Alim said, I don't want to say Alim's name, but one of the Moorish brothers, and I'm sure it was a Bey, he was saying that the ancient Moors built crafts in the past because they knew there was going to be a future fall in mankind, in the Moorish kind, or the melanated species, and basically these crafts are meant to be there for, I don't know what exactly for, if they're meant to be like coming down to help us or whatever this thing is, but I heard from one of these Moorish brothers, and if I ever catch that speech again, I'll try and bring it up and even play a snippet so you can hear this. So there's all different stories to do with this. So everybody's got their piece that they say, every denomination. I mean, the church, they're not really, a lot of the church in America, especially the Baptist church and the ministry, they're not into this. They actually straight equate it with the devil, and they say it's there's no good attached to this, and it's all a sign of demonic activity and the activity of fallen angels, which again, it's a theory which we have to prove. Right, so there's been many reports that the military bases, weapon stores, has been repeatedly blown up by mysterious UFOs, as they now call it, or UAPs. So I've seen this. There's a guy called Ninth Spiral on YouTube, and there's a lot of other guys. I can't remember all of them, but I've just pulled him out at random. And he's got stuff where he calls them Drakans, and he's showing you these energies and these entities that are blowing up different places. You know what I mean? And it's interesting because it's not just him. There's a lot of people reporting the same thing, where there's certain places in different countries where either underground, overground, they've had interference from crafts that's come along and blown off their technology. So it's very interesting. Now, with all of that, the information that I want to look into is I made it one of my first portal calls, is why are all the abductees white? Why is the majority of them white? You understand? Because Dr. York said in one of his books, and I read it from other so-called researchers, that there was an actual agreement made with I don't know if it's Galactic Federation or if it was made with some aliens, and they made an agreement I think America, I don't think it was Truman or Eisenhower, and they said to them basically, in America, you can have these white guys, our white people, and you can experiment on them. I don't know how true that is. I don't know how true that is. And I don't know how true it is that they're all getting abducted. So, I can't prove all these things, but it seems to me like the majority of them's getting abducted. You know what I mean? It's either that or the majority of them are taking mushrooms or some altering drugs or whatever, whatever it is that they do in their pastime. But I don't know. I mean, again, it's something for you to look into. I always ask, why no black people? I think, these aliens, why is he? Because then they say, duppy oath to frighten. They know they took one of us, especially one of our sisters that's ferocious. They wouldn't hear the last of it. They'd have to drop her back or drop him back off quick. You understand me? 1 minute, 1 second drop off, because they can't take that. They ain't ready for that energy. They ain't ready for the sonics that comes out by some of our sisters and some of our brothers when they're ready. So yeah, it's funny why we're not included in that. And it's kind of relieving, because it just means that in that particular narrative, it doesn't apply to us. You understand me? So yeah, that's something. Again, I've just asked that little question about why. It's I'm very honored by the grace of the Creator, the feminine principle and the masculine principle, that we have like creation, we have life. Life is everywhere. And we're lucky to be part of that experience. So that's why I look in the Quran, and the Quran says stories about the jinn. And it's very, 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 very detailed. It says that the jinn, they live on earth. They eat and drink just like humans. They procreate just like humans, but they just live in another dimension, not another planet, another dimension. That's inside the Quran. So this is things that, a lot of people, we read these things and we just flip past it and just, that's just... No, this is important to know, because when you fit it with today's narrative, you'll find that a lot of these things, there's something in it. Even like those movies when they say stuff like poltergeist, or there's a poltergeist in your room, it's probably a jinn moving stuff around. When I look at my cutlery cupboard, I don't know who's ever had this, where bare cutlery goes missing. And you go throughout the house and you can't find these cutleries. I'm thinking some jinn's nicking my stuff and, eating his gin steak and whatever he drinks and just feeling good, because I've had some funny experiences, and I could put it down to, I wouldn't say call them, because I don't say jinn, but some spirit. Because I genuinely believe we've never, ever, ever been walking around alone. There's always something around, not just your shadow. So the Quran goes into this. Now, what's interesting about this is that they actually tell you that King Solomon, which is in the Quran, they write this, that he had power over the jinn, and also the Bible, backs this up. And apparently, he's one of the things he asked one of the jinns to do was to go and get a seat for Queen Sheba. It's actually go and take Queen Sheba's seat, which this jinn apparently did it in seconds. So it's interesting stuff. It would be good to know that about this. So the moral to this is that we're not now just talking about UFOs, extraterrestrials from other planets and other star constellations. We're actually now having to think about, are they from another dimension? So what is a dimension? And I'm not greatly scientific. Normally I didn't do the search for what dimension means, but I'm going to say top of my mind what it means. Dimension, to me, it means like another angle of something. So we're living on Earth, and in the 3D angle that we're living and experiencing, we can see is that within the faculties of what we've got to see in 3D and move around, that's we can perceive. But the other dimension, which I believe there's 4, there's 5, there's 6, I believe there's more, and the reason why we're not seeing the entities or seeing the life forms is because we haven't got the angle. Our angles ain't right. We ain't reached up to that dimension yet. Because I think every subsequent dimension you reach, and you see everything from the dimensions below. Just like we're in third, we can see second and first. Look down and see second and first. So we haven't elevated enough. spiritually or whatever way we have to elevate to get to that next dimension, to see things, to see even more. Because when we was aware of certain dimensions, it's only as time moved on we started to realize there's a lot more to dimensions. It's all about angles. It's all about the way you see things. So basically, a different dimension is like living we're living on the same platform. You know, it's like being on a radio station, and there's about 20 DJs, but every DJ is doing something different, and that difference will be the frequency. You see, so it's like we're living on Earth, and say there's, just for argument's sake, there was 20 different dimensions. Every particular dimension has a frequency, and every frequency, yeah, is every dimension has a frequency. I'm trying to make something short be too long, man. It's too much. Right, so that's it. Basically, that's what a dimension is. We're living on Earth. It's different parts to the Earth, different angles of the Earth where there's living entities living on that angle. So there might be a completely different environment, even, or it might be the same environment, but we're not on it. For some reason, they can't see us, and they can't bump into us or anything like that. So, you know, only God knows how that works out. But I thought I'd try to explain what a dimension is. It's just like another place within a place. It's like getting access to another place within a place. It's like basically a massive house with all these different rooms. You understand me? The house is basically the one plane, and all these different rooms are the different dimensions that you can get into. So that's what we're in, and we're stuck in the third room. You know what I mean? Trying to get out to get to the fourth, fifth, and sixth rooms or whatever. So that's what dimensions be. I mean, again, it's kind of interesting because, you know, it's very possible. Yeah, it's very, 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 very possible. You know. So as I move on quickly, you know, I've gone into how we've got a relationship going on as melanated beings with the extraterrestrial phenomena, yeah? And I covered dark matter and melanin last week. I don't think I did enough justice, but I covered it. And the relationship between melanin and dark matter, which is space, yeah? And it really does apply to us. Now we have other things like, that's like very strange on this planet. Far less another planet. We've got a set of people called the Vadoma tribe, or Vadoma tribe, but let me get it right. Vadoma, right? And they live in Zimbabwe. And I'm sure there's some of them live in Botswana as well. And these people have got like feet, like very strange feet. You know? It's shaped like an ostrich. They call them the ostrich people or something like that, or bird-footed people. You know, they're very interesting to look at because not everybody in the tribe has that particular foot, but a lot of them that's kept within the marriage, within the genes of the family, a lot of them have got these feet, and you can actually look this up and see that. I mean, I saw this in school when I was about 15, and well, I found it in, was it a Longman's book, a Longman science book, and when I saw this, I said, wow, and they put it under mutation, saying that basically, you know, that's a mutation of the gene and how a mutation can express itself. But who's to say? Again, because I think theirs is a extraterrestrial lineage as well. So, you know, it's like how can I explain it? It's like the expression of life. It can take all types of forms, yeah. And how it corresponds with us, I think all types of life has to be melanated to take its expression, yeah, if you can follow what I'm saying. So that would give us, like, how can I put it, our extraterrestrial heritage, because that's the reason why I went into the dark matter, to correlate it with melanin, which is a dark substance from dark matter, which is found in space. Dark energy, which is the fuel that powers this, and plasma, these are all dark energy forces. So these are things that are extra out of our realm, and also it's within our realm through us, because it's encoded on our ancestors and on our people, especially my dark skinned black people that's got the deep melanin. So I just wanted to just link that together to let you know that, you know, it's nothing too strange to us, and there's a reason why I'm saying this. Right, there's a brother on YouTube. In fact, before I go into this, I'm going to take another quick break and just play 2 tracks because I want to just make sure I put some juice in my mouth and ready for this next one, because there's still got a fair piece to go through. So I'm going to try and run through these next pieces. But I'm sorry taking the whole show, but I think this is kind of interesting because it's something that, you know, a lot of these guys, they think, oh, you got to have thick glasses and you got to stay up all night and study this stuff. And no, you don't have to. You know what I mean? And you don't have to go down all the boring routes of going through all of this stuff I've gone down. I'm only giving you like a basic layman's format of this, so that if you talk about this to anybody, you've got enough to carry a conversation and enough to go and get even more knowledge, enough to elaborate on, you know. And you can also tell your friends that you feel, say that you got some extraterrestrial blood, you know what I mean, through your melanin, you know what I mean, because the melanin is the link. But I'm going to get more into that in a minute. So if you give me 2 seconds, I'm going to put on some beautiful tunes to let you enjoy, relax. It's Sunday. I didn't make it too much of a stressful talk. I hope it's not boring anybody's socks off. This is interesting because we live in a world full of life. You understand me? And this life is, you know, it's beautiful. You understand me? Because, you know, it would be arrogant of us to think that it's just us. Yeah? Yeah, I mean, a long time they were saying about Bigfoot and all of this stuff. So, I mean, there's so much going on this planet alone, far less anything coming from another dimension or anything coming from another planet. So, yeah, I'm very, very, very mucho happy. I'm going to rewind that last track I played, and I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes to think about what I've just been saying, and then I'll tuck back in straight into it on the break.
Scratching off the leaves is the buzzer. I think
back on now. It's 3:30. Haha, didn't realize. Right, so let's get straight in. Okay, and this particular show, you noticed I've been throwing out a bit more info on people to go and check out, and I'm going to try and make it my duty that every single drop I say can be verified. There's a young man out, crazy as anything, but he's got a really lively channel. His name is Bretcar, and with brother Bretcar, he's got a lot of information. So if you want to know anything that's out there, like some of the stuff I talked about, he goes deep into Enki, into the Mesopotamian. He goes really deep. He goes as far as how genetic manipulation was done, how beings were engineered, how animals was even made. He's got information. And anybody that wants to just see alternative history, see alternative philosophies and theories, and it's quite concise the way he's done it. I mean, you've got to have at least a good 20 hours to take in this stuff, but it's worth it, because if you put it all together, you will find it's kind of interesting, and a lot of this stuff can be verified, lots of this stuff, and that's what's interesting about him, because if anybody, the way he's moving, he's like an extraterrestrial. He's his whole character, his persona, the way he is. If anybody was to say extraterrestrial, I'd have said yeah. He can definitely fit that type. His name's Bretcar 2001's his channel on YouTube. I checked it the other day. It's still up. It's very, very. I would advise you get those videos, get those all the information is put down, transfer it, save it, have a look at it, and it's just something to have a look at. It goes into way more depth than what I'm doing here. I mean, I'm just like putting like one toe in the pool. He's actually throwing the whole body right to the bottom. He's got info. He's got a ton of info, and I really like the info. Don't be put off by his exuberance and his screaming and getting excited. Because when I first heard him, I thought, wow, I wonder what brand of crack he's on. So it's like he's just naturally a very happy, expressive guy, and he just likes, because he's giving out some powerful information. I think it's just taken over, but it's very, very exciting stuff, and it really I mean, where people thought they was getting information with Dr. York, this information he's dropping is like it's just like, oh, I can't even tell a person. They just need to just check it out for themselves. But he goes into the extraterrestrial thing in full depth, in a manner, as I said, I can't go into it. And he's actually gone into different aspects, spiritual aspects, and it's very important to see. He goes into he's covered quite a lot. He even covered a sister, which it might come off topic. It's not really off topic, because it's still to do with like extraterrestrial and things we're not used to. There's a woman called Melba Ketchum, because I think it was him I got introduced to Melba Ketchum, Dr. Melba Ketchum, and this is just something random, but I'm gonna throw it out there. And she studies like DNA, and what she was doing, I think she was studying Bigfoot and getting the information for this, collating information for the existence of Bigfoot, and she was finding these DNA strands, testing it out, and then coming back, and she was saying, yeah, there's such thing as Bigfoot, they're related to man, they've got a certain amount of percent DNA of men, la la la. Then she found out about another species of people, which was dog people with the heads of dogs and the body of humans. Now some people's going to go, oh my god, he's going great, but this is out there, and she actually done research on this and found, she said she even as far as one ran past a car, jumped over a car, some fur was left on the car, she done a trace on it, and she said it's got a high percentage of human DNA. So I just throw that out there, because that's all on Bretcar's channel, and it's out there anyway, because under Moorish, one of the Moorish brothers, the Seer Ducatias, talks about the same thing, about an actual colony of them, and there was actually intelligent. And then there's other information talking about Saint Christopher and him being a dog, one of them breeds of people, entities that was had a dog's head and stuff like this. So very interesting stuff. So there's a lot of stuff out there. I thought I'd just chuck it all out there, let you get some more info. there's a man in South Africa called Michael Tellinger, and he's made a some very powerful discoveries. He was under the tutorage of Credo Mutwa, yeah, but Credo Mutwa has accused him of making money off of the backs of black people and whatever not. But I don't know, you know, that's I can't disprove. But I do know that he's done some stuff, and he's gone into connection of Suma and South Africa, where he's located certain things like mining, and he's located a style of mining in Mesopotamia. They did it in South Africa, and he's bringing the links even nearer, where Credo's done it linguistically and historically. He's doing it now through some other evidences, like, you know, showing you that there's been activities that can be traced to these guys, you know, and it's very interesting, you know. He's located a Sumerian temple in South Africa, for example, you know, and he's actually got proof that it is devoted to Enki, one of the Sumerian gods, which I was already breaking down, that Credo told us that is related. So it's all our family tree, literally, when you look at it, these melanated beings. The science, again, is in the melanin, right? And I think looking at the physiology of melanin and the way it's composed and constructed and made and what it's comprised of, is definitely something you can use for interstellar travel. Now, interstellar travel, you know, it's not just like in a craft, because everybody, whenever we think of travel, we think of traveling in a craft. But every time we sleep, our spirit travels, our mind travels. You see, and it's always been known that wherever the mind travels, you know, it's quite possible for the spirit to follow. So, at the end of the day, what I'm trying to tell everybody is that the traveling aspect of things I find very fascinating, because, you know, it can explain to me, right? It can actually shed light on African shamans or witch doctors or sangomas, you know. And my belief is that it gives the power of astral projection, space and time traveling, shape shifting. Yeah, I mean, because these are things that I've seen. I'll not say sin, but I've heard of. So let me get it correct. I've heard stories from my mom, from many people around me, about shape shifting guys. I've heard about guys transforming into dogs, you know, and getting killed, and when they've been killed, they've reverted back to the animal. Yeah, I mean, I've got there's quite a few things to support this, and the reason why I'm connected to the melanin is because I find it, you know, amazing that some of these things that these witch doctors can do, you know, and I know to myself, like, because we're not educated or we don't remember the secrets of our ancestors, it doesn't mean everybody doesn't, you know. And, you know, who's to say a lot of these witch doctors are not direct descendants of the main ancestors, but some of them just not doing the right thing, you know, doing it for money or whatever, or for ego or whatever, doing misappropriating the science. But I'm gonna put it out there that it's in our physiology to be able to do interstellar travel. But my angle from this one is that we don't do it in the shape of crafts. The body is the craft, yeah, and that's the way I look at this. You know what I mean? Because we've got so much stuff to support our connection to this. I mean, there's stuff like even the Ethiopia, you know, because I should have said this earlier about the Ark of the Covenant. You know, Ark of the Covenant's meant to be some kind of like high tech that if you open up the lid, a whole bunch of stuff happens, lots of energy is exposed. I've heard you can't even look at it directly. I've heard a priest looked at it and got blinded. So all of these things are interesting things. It's all ties in with this extraterrestrial stuff, but pushing that to the side, it's just the fact about the fact of them, because I'm really, really obsessed with melanin, and you know, it's just a powerful thing to know that you've got something on you. We've been taking it for granted, you know. It's got its own consciousness, you know. So this, just for the fact that it's out there, it's out in space, you know. We never talk about these things and correlate it to extraterrestrial stories, which we need to do, you know. Right, so as for the stories of fish people and beings that taught mankind, I can't verify or find enough proof for that, but I'm more for the case of the actual extraterrestrials. I was making case just now. There's more proof to me that we are extraterrestrial originated. I went into the one about the craft that they found. I mean, I wish I had that picture. I would have showed everybody. I just look at us, right, as a species, and I look at stuff like, I look at the way we dance, the way we move, especially carnival. You're going to see a whole lot of extraterrestrial movement from these sisters out there. Even Soul Train. You know, when I look at Soul Train and see the way these guys move and the way these sisters move, I said, just the timing alone. It's not from this planet. It's beyond. It's really astounding. And when you can look and see the things we do, and I've seen things that really has taken my breath away. I've seen some dance moves that I say, wow, where did she get that from? You understand me? Wow, that brother done a move. I wish I could do that move. I ain't got the right shape for that move. You know, and it's out of this world to me. You know, and it just makes me wonder. You know, like all this talk about dark matter, and melanin and everything. You know, again, who is to say that we're not the extraterrestrials? You know, I've heard it's been like when they talked about X-Men on TV. I heard from some scholars, well respected, they're saying that it's like they're talking about us. You know, it's a cryptic thing. You know, when they write these comics and that, it's about us. And I'm like, is it? And he goes, if you look at it, yeah, I mean, the X-Men and mutants getting hunted out, you know, this, that, and the third. And I say, it's very, very similar backdrop story. And they don't trust humanity. It's like us with the police and the system. You know, it's like a lot of stuff actually correlates with this stuff. And I just want to try and bring it in closer together. Yeah. So again, this question of different entities, life forms and beings, again, can never be ignored. But what needs more studying is the melanated person whose skin is comprised of dark matter, making them a universal being whose ability to traverse all of the universes is encoded in the DNA of the melanated being. Now, I said it, and I'll stand on that. Because I think now I've reached a stage where I've seen so much information to support this that I can actually brazenly say this, because it's things that we just bypass and we take it for granted and whatever. But when you hear people talk about Obia man and they just say Obia man, but this man knows things that you should know, yeah, because it's your powers. He knows how to unlock the power from within. And I was talking to one of my brothers yesterday about this. The brother from BBG, David, hail up to David and Emmanuel from BBG, and we was just talking about spirit, and I was just saying the same thing. I was saying that, you know, it's all from within. Yeah, we've got the power from within, yeah, and we use the power we draw from without. So that like when people talk about astral projection and sleeping and going different places and doing different things, that's all part of the journey. That's all part of the movement, and I think we as melanated beings, we need to key into that. You understand me? Because once we key into that, we would understand where we stand in the cosmos and where we stand with our creator and where we stand on earth. Because these are all the things that it's all part of us, all part and parcel of us. And it's something you can't just pretend it's not out there. Because there's a lot of people online saying that, oh yeah, they're going to do a fake UFO invasion. I've been saying this for like over 20 years. That they're going to do a fake UFO invasion, and it's very possible, that they're going to do this and con people with the narratives that they put outside. So the whole point of today's show basically was to just give the layman's aspect of extraterrestrials, UFOs, where they could possibly come from. I mean, I didn't even talk about underwater USOs, because there's supposed to be them that come from out of the sea. We've got a ton of these things going on. It's very, very interesting times we're living in. And I believe, in this particular time, we're going to see things that we don't normally see. So it's good that we're versed on this and we understand this, and we don't live inside of a little room or a little tiny block or a little cube or a little cave, and we don't understand that we're living on a planet or on a plane that is, to me, infinite in any direction, which means there's infinite life, infinite land, infinite of everything. So we are living in a very, very interesting time, because as we're getting more understanding and more knowledge, is as we're starting to see more things. And I believe is when you're ready to receive these kind of knowledge, you receive it. For anybody listening out there, I hope today's been interesting. You don't have to take anything I've given as my advice or my view or my opinion serious. You've got your own mind. You can work it all out for yourself. A couple of times I've slipped with my mouth for saying stuff that's not conducive for children. I'm very, very sorry. Very, very sorry. I've been warned about this, and I'm very, very sorry for all the listeners. I don't mean to be offensive and rude. My mouth gets a bit too excited. I'm trying to curb it as slow as possible. I've got so much to offer you guys. It's really, it's just like, I get very excited. I'm like a kid in a candy store when it comes to going into stuff. Obviously, I'd like to talk with people around me. I'm hoping soon to be able to interview a couple of people that know more about the subjects I'm covering than I do. I'm only giving you like surface until I meet up the proper brains, and then they will reiterate the knowledge to you, and I'll just be there like the student I am, lapping it up and making more notes and adjusting my info and getting an update. You know, so again, I told you about disclosure. Right now, the disclosure situation, I think they said under the Freedom of Information Act, there's been a ton of papers released. There's been a ton of pictures coming out. That Dr. Stephen Greer, he's got a video of one so-called alien that's come on, and this alien seems to be photo shy, and all this stuff. There's a lot of stuff coming out. And as I say, what I do, I'm not saying everybody to do it, but I take every piece of information with a pinch of salt until it can be verified, proven for yourself. Do not take anything I've said, anything anybody says, because this is your right. You know, you have your own brain, you have your own mind, you have your own spirit, and don't let nobody put stuff in your head that you can put in there for yourself. So it's down to you that listens, to do research, to go and take things in for yourself. You know, maybe you might want to give a lecture about certain things. Maybe you want to educate some of us about certain things. But everybody out there, it's incumbent, that word I'm going to keep using, it's your due, it's something you have to do. It's go and study. It don't matter if you're not really good at reading or writing. You can talk to people. Yeah, you can open your mind, because reading a person or speaking to a person that's educated is like reading a billion books. Because when you get access to the mind of somebody, you're getting access to intelligence, to all the ingredients that made the intelligence, to all the knowledge that's been accrued by this intelligence. So that's why especially when you speak to elders, that we have a certain amount of respect that we've got to show, have to show, because the elders is the elevation to ourselves. They're the ones that has the keys to the next realm. So we have to. That's why we always pay respects to the ancestors, which I should have done at the beginning of the show, and paid respects to all those that passed before us with the knowledge and the information. All the great people that took time to burn the candle at three ends to go and bring us knowledge and wisdom and understanding, so that we can have it easier to understand the realms that we're living in. So all the people, for me, like Sheikh Anta Diop, Ivan Van Sertima, I'm going to name them John Henry Clark, because these are the guys I got a lot of my info from. Dr. Benja Cannon, there's a lot of these guys that I got my information from, or my inspiration. Marcus Messiah Garvey, may he rest well, because I didn't big him up on the 17th of August, his birthday. All the great leaders, Kwame Nkrumah, that sacrificed his self to go inside of a crate to go and liberate his people and take them out of the bondage that they was in, and imperial colonialism. We've got so much backdrop in history and stuff like this that I really want to get into all of it as much as possible without making it mundane and boring. Next week I'm going to start the educational series on alternate history of what they call European and British and American history. Now, we've been given one rendition. I've got another rendition which I'm going to give you guys. I'm hoping when the camera's up, I'm going to have some books with me. I'm going to shout out some names of the books. I'm going to read some excerpts. I'm going to try and show some pictures as well. It's just to bring home the fact that in the UK, that we've got roots. Well, we've got roots everywhere, in every country. But this particular country we're in, A lot of us has felt alienated, cut off, and whatever from the system that runs it. But the reality that consumes everything is that we have a very deep heritage. We have royal blood that lived and breathed there, that put laws in this country, yeah, that did things, that did revolutionary things. A lot of these lords, a lot of these great people, Charles II, we've got so much. So, you know, I'm going to go and touch into that. That will be my next week, because I was meant to talk about a few other things, but I'm going to put some priority things. I think this one is just for the moral feelings, you know, for those that might feel, oh, well, you know, we're having to keep begging for recognition by scholars of our relevance to this system. No, there's no need no more. You know, I'm going to be putting out a ton of information, referencing other people that's doing the same thing. I've got friends of mine, even I've got some of my friends, my white friends, may God bless them, in their endeavor to bring the truth, that are bringing out some powerful knowledge. And I'll be using their references from them. I'll introduce them as well. I've got a lot to offer concerning the history of our people. It's something I've always wanted to do, and to just break it down, why the royalty situation, you know, we've got to look into this very, very carefully and make our own minds about it. But do not feel that we have had no play in history. And it wasn't like a play, like we just made a one invention, or we done a one statue. I'm talking about running a system, you see, which was worldwide and global. But I shall start off with the British part of it, because we live in Britain, and it will be nice to understand names, terminologies, and facts about the paperwork that switched, pictures that were switched, and not given we've been given the wrong representation. So I'm going to hopefully show you guys how things really looked at that time, and in as best as I can. But for today's talk, it was something, again, I had to get off my brain. The ET, we are who we are. We are special. We're blessed. We're melanated. We have the power. We have the power to heal. We have the power to read minds. We have the power to travel. You know, don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by the Obia man and all his little higgery-piggery. He's only doing stuff because you don't know what you've got. But he knows what he's got. But the minute you know what you've got, you don't need him. You see? You won't never need him again, because you have the said power. Yeah? And what it is with us, we've got to look towards ourselves and see ourselves as a source of redemption. You see? So if Jesus did come, you're already taking care of your business. Just in case for those who believe in the Muhammad coming, or whatever they believe, let them believe. Whoever believes in whoever personage is coming to save them, let them. But it is incumbent upon you to be your own savior, to be your own doctor, to be your own nurse, to be your own teacher, to be your children's teacher, yeah, to be basically like your own God, because you're in the image of God. Yeah. So this is what the let's look into this is all about. I'm hoping that as we do this, we build up our chakras and we build up our energy as we're supposed to, because in our bodies contains so much electromagnetic energy that can be termed as spiritual, can be termed as healing, can be termed as extraordinary, that comes out in the manner of talents and skills that we've been given and blessed with. So for this, I tell all my people, and also just to remind you, in Africa at this present moment, we're going through an abundance of energy getting bombarded down there, where a lot of the children are coming up and they're bringing new inventions. Some schoolgirls are making batteries that runs on urine. There's a brother, I think in Kenya, I hope he's still alive, that made a TV that's wireless. Or Tanzania, I think one of the two countries, he made a TV that's wireless. You know, nobody's made one like that. I saw Sony, I think Sony made an approach to him to finance that venture. We've got a lot of things going on. So it's just to let you all know that the spirit of the Most High, the goddess and the God, never has left us. It's always there pouring out to us. We have to start recognize it. We have to look at ourselves and see who we really are, because I can't see it no other way. You know, even when my missus gets me mad as mad, and I'm telling you, we war. But when I look at this Nubian woman there, I say, well, I'm truly blessed. You understand me? When I look at what's good, and I look at the essence, and I look at the energy, you know, we are lucky. We're living in very good times, because we have a time to sort things out. We have a time to change the narrative. We have a time to put the right thing into our youths' minds. So as everyone's wriggling and jiggling this weekend, enjoy yourselves. I hope everybody stays cool, stays nice. Don't get too excited with the carnival atmosphere. Remember your mind. Remember your alcoholic beverages. You know what I mean? Do not overdrink. Do not overeat. I saw a piece about chicken. I heard it's very carcinogenic more than red meat. Something for people to look into. You know, we've got to look into all our stuff. I've gone into the nutrition thing. I'm always going to bleat on about it now and again. I hope everybody stays prosperous for the weekend and extra prosperous for the week with good health as your guide, and the Most High Goddess Divine and the God giving you all the great knowledge and the great opportunities and the wisdoms to live good. I'm gonna sign out and get ready for Brother Brian coming in with Enough Is Enough. I'm gonna play a couple of more of these rhythms that I've been playing, and I really hope you've enjoyed today. I really hope it's made sense. As per usual, I'm going to sign out till next week with more love, respects, to everybody of all colors, all kinds. It don't matter if you're living, if you're not living, if you're invisible, you're visible, if you're purple, blue, or pink, it don't matter. We send love, universal energy of love, 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 love. Enjoy your week and enjoy your weekend.
Mon soleil en code le mono en stéréo. Je te le donne pour te secouer comme au rodéo. Souris t'es filmé pour la vidéo. Au soleil mi à 6 du mat. Et au volant de ta caisse, juste un peu de soleil pour éradiquer ton stress. Un peu de soleil au petit-déj, juste avant d'aller bosser. Du courage en gélule, sonore et métissé. Sonore et métissé. Les modules de la bonne humeur en 5.1. Opération coup de soleil à coup de poing. Comme avant choc arrivé, un dans tes enceintes. Âge à la claque, d'une lampe d'absinthe. Je te le donne en mille et dans ta stéréo. Mon soleil en code le mono en stéréo. Secoué comme au rodéo. Souris t'es filmé pour la vidéo. Laisse suspendre le temps. Geler la tristesse. J'aimerais tant que vous preniez le temps d'une chanson, le temps d'une chanson. Avec 3 minutes de soleil dans un sablier virtuel. 3 minutes de soleil venu d'une dimension parallèle. 3 minutes de soleil à consommer quand tu veux. 3 minutes de soleil.